Okay, I think we're live. So I might wait a second to see if I pop up here, JC, there we go. Here we are. That way I can see if anyone is joining us. And, okay, so thanks for those of you who are joining us today, and Happy New Year. Welcome to our very first Facebook Live conversation called FACTS, Family and Community Talks. I'm Kate Rollicke, the Early Intervention and Prevention Initiative Director at the Marion County Commission on Youth. And we're starting this new project where every first Friday at noon, we'll be joining everyone on Facebook Live to talk about different topics that might impact youth in our community. And so we'll hope that you'll be part of the conversation by sharing your ideas and questions in the comments, both while we're live, but also feel free to watch this video anytime that's convenient for you, and share your ideas with us in the comment section. So today we will be talking about volunteering, and specifically about volunteering all year round. So a lot of families might volunteer around the holidays, a time of year when we particularly feel that we should be giving back to our communities in some way. But so many organizations depend on volunteer support throughout the entire year. So this month, at the beginning of a new year, we want to talk about what that might look like. And here to help us have that conversation is Kirsten Bush. So Kirsten, thanks for being here today, especially during your lunch hour. Could you let us know a little bit more about your organization and your role in it?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm Kirsten Bush. I'm the Community Engagement Coordinator at Volunteers of America, Ohio and Indiana. So Volunteers of America was founded in 1896, and there's chapters all over the country, and each one's a little bit different. In Indianapolis, our programs focus on veterans, reentry, and mental health services. So our fastest growing programs are addiction treatment programs, and that's where most of our volunteering happens.
Yeah, so I know that when we reached out to you via email, you helped clarify, so maybe you can help clarify now for anyone who's watching that you have Volunteers of America, the word volunteer is in the name, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you're a conduit of people who want to volunteer. So can you explain where the name volunteer came from?
Yeah, thanks for that. So when we were founded in 1896, a long time ago, the word volunteer meant more of a soldier who dedicates their life to service. So like I should follow sports better, but the University of Tennessee, their mascot is the volunteer, which doesn't sound super tough anymore, but it was cool back in the day. And as the word has evolved, it doesn't match what our organization does quite as well. While we do have volunteers, we're a human services organization and mostly run by full-time staff. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
So many nonprofit organizations and programs depend on volunteers to help them carry out their mission. So how are volunteers important to your organization and the mission of your organization?
That's a great question. So can you ask the question one more time?
Totally ask the question again. So how are volunteers important to your organization?
So the clients who come to receive our services, they're getting, like in our addiction treatment programs, they're getting the basic help that they need to recover from their addiction, but there's so much more that's needed. And really the role that our volunteers play is just by showing up and showing that the community cares about them and believes in their success, and seeing that other people care and believe in them is what makes the biggest difference in our clients' lives. That it's not just our staff who are paid to be there and care about them, but it's these community members that believe that they can be successful in overcoming addiction and in having a successful, healthy family.
Can you give me an example of like what your volunteers do when they come to your organization?
Absolutely. So we generally have volunteer groups come in 2 to 4 times a month, and those groups are usually bringing an activity of some sort to share with their clients that we serve. And specifically the addiction treatment program that we use volunteers for is our Fresh Start Recovery Center. So it's designed specifically for mothers. So mothers and pregnant women can come and get help for their addiction so they can have a healthy family and be a successful mother. And what's unique about our program is that they can live with up to 2 children under the age of 5 on site during their treatment. So we have at our Indianapolis facility, we have 60 beds for women, and 45 of those are for women that can't have children. Some children are living with other family members or caretakers. But it's a really special place where mom and baby or young kid can be together while getting help for an addiction and getting 24/7 support for relearning their parenting skills and how to be an effective parent and build a healthy family. And so our volunteers come usually on Thursday nights, and the activity is pretty flexible. We've had lots of types of groups. Some throw birthday parties for kids in our programs, or baby showers for moms in our programs. And we have one volunteer that comes every month and does like an ice cream social for all of the women and kids. And that woman, and she comes with her family and sometimes with friends and their families. And it's really fun to see all these families together, just rallying around the women and families that we serve, and giving them positive memories with their family and just loving on them. So
yeah, it sounds almost like volunteering is as simple as showing up.
Yeah.
And showing that you care and just spending some time with someone.
That's really the most important thing.
Yeah, absolutely. So for anyone who's joining us, we are talking about volunteering, and we're trying to talk about what volunteering might look like all year round instead of just through the holidays. So if you are joining us and you want to pop into the comments and say something, I can see when someone says something, but feel free to share what volunteer activities you might participate in and what organizations you might connect with for those. So there are a lot of benefits to volunteering. It can help expand our social connections, which is a lot of what you were talking about for those mothers. And it makes us feel better, like literally. So researchers at the London School of Economics found that people become happier when they volunteer at least 1 or 2 hours every week. Like, it messes with the brain stuff and makes you happier. So volunteering can even contribute to a longer lifespan and reduce risks for heart disease and memory loss. So there's all kinds of cool benefits for volunteering. So another question for anyone who might be tuning in is, what benefits have you experienced through volunteering and how has it made you feel? And Kirsten, I'm just curious if any of the volunteers that you've talked with or met with, if you've seen any of these volunteers among the volunteers, or if you've seen any of the benefits with the volunteers that come into your organization.
Absolutely. So I think because I work a lot with families that are coming to volunteer, it's really cool to see parents from a young age teaching their children the value of giving back to the community, the value of helping those in need, and of treating everyone with dignity, even those going through a hard time. So, and they have a great time seeing that. I think this is going to sound weird or corny maybe, but one of the biggest things that people say is, like, they realize they come in maybe a little bit uncomfortable at first, and as soon as they start interacting with our clients, they realize, oh, they're just regular people like me, and you know, they can be friends and have a great conversation about kids or jobs or dreams, what they want for their families, and they find pretty quickly that they have way more in common than they do different.
Yeah, I think that volunteering, from my own personal experience with some of the volunteering I've done, is that oftentimes you don't need any kind of elaborate skill set or expertise in any particular area. If it is a kind of volunteering position where you do need to do something, they'll train you or they'll show you, and it's usually very easy. And the first maybe half hour is a little bit like, I don't know what I'm doing, but volunteering really just taps into our common humanity, like who we are as people. And it's really easy at that point to just show up and be yourself and connect with other people.
Yeah.
And I really like what you said about families volunteering together, that the parents are kind of modeling and setting an example for their kiddos, because that's really important for getting youth to volunteer.
Yeah.
And so that's something that McCoy especially specifically wants to focus on, is how can we really nurture youth and get them excited about volunteering. So just a couple facts for everyone. Teens volunteer 2.4 billion hours annually.
That's amazing.
That's a lot of hours.
Sounds like a lot.
And their time is worth $34.3 billion to the U.S. economy. Whoa. 30% of youth participate in volunteer activities at least once a month, and it's becoming increasingly common for young people to volunteer. Youth who volunteer just 1 hour or more a week are 50% less likely to abuse alcohol, cigarettes, become pregnant, or engage in other risky behavior. And volunteering brings people together. So this particular fact really struck me. Only 20% of young people perceive that adults in the community value them.
Wow.
Yeah, so a lot of teenagers and young people feel like my community doesn't care or it doesn't matter. But volunteering creates an opportunity that provides an environment for people of different generations to work together. So it helps to bridge that divide, that through volunteering, young people will be engaging with other generations, and that perception can be changed, both for older adults who maybe think that teenagers are just young hoodlums, in the community, or they might see, oh wow, no, actually these teens, these young people are really important to our community, and likewise back and forth, then that just improves the overall perception. So again, for those of you who might be joining us, we're talking about volunteering year-round, and specifically right now we're talking about how we can engage young people to volunteer. So Kirsten, how can young people get more involved or volunteer their time with your organization?
Yeah, the volunteer opportunities at our organization are pretty unique and very volunteer-led. So it's also an opportunity to develop some leadership skills for youth that come and serve with us. One family that came, they had a teenage daughter who she created art kits for each of the programs, so the kids could have art activities.
Yeah.
And so they came and did some crafts and left them with some art supplies. And the activities that our volunteers do are pretty flexible. So a family can bring an activity that they love and enjoy and share it with our clients. So I think that's a unique way that youth can kind of take charge in planning a cool activity to share with some people who need a pick-me-up. So.
Especially in something that they're passionate about. So I remember growing up, I took piano lessons, and I would go to a nursing home that my aunt worked at and play piano for her ladies. And I got to talk to women who were 100 years old, and I just thought that was so cool. Like, oh my gosh, I'm talking to someone who can remember when the TV was invented or can remember when this happened. And so I know that a lot of the literature, the resources out there definitely recommend that, in order for youth to kind of get into volunteering, that they have the opportunity to think about what they're passionate about. So if they're into art or if they're into music, what are some avenues for them to share that passion with other people, or to help those organizations that kind of revolve around those topics? What are your observations? Oh, I'm sorry, you were going to say something.
Yeah, no, that made me think another way that a relatively easy way that people can get involved is by holding donation drives for a cause that you're passionate about. So whatever the cause is, there's probably an organization that needs some stuff that you can collect for them.
Absolutely.
So I mean, it's different for every organization. I can speak for VOA, And we collect, it depends on the time of year, but like baby items are always needed at our Fresh Start Recovery Center. Winter clothes. We hold a toy drive in winter, but we're past that. And backpack drives. So those are some easy ways that people can get involved in just like putting a box at your place of work or school or church. And
yeah, I love that idea, and I love the idea of that's something that I think youth can definitely get on board with.
Yeah.
I mean, they already have to do a lot of fundraisers for schools, oftentimes do fundraisers. And so how can we kind of inspire them to think of an organization or another cause that they could do a fundraiser or a drive for? What's been your observation? You kind of touched on this a little bit with the parents and children, but in general, when families volunteer together, so when parents are there with their kiddos, what's been your observation of the dynamics in that family, or what has that done for that family?
It's been really cool to watch. Like the family I mentioned that comes every month brings like an ice cream social. It's been really fun to watch their kids become more comfortable in volunteering, and now they also come in and they know what they're doing, and they know how to talk to clients and brighten their day. And so it's been really fun to watch their kids evolve as they've been coming every month.
Yeah, there's a lot of great life skills that come out of volunteering, like just the fact that you are walking potentially into a room full of strangers, like how do you break the ice? What do you say?
Right.
You know? So that's really great, especially for young children or young people to start doing that more and more often, to get comfortable with it. For anyone who is joining us today, feel free to share comments or ask questions while Kirsten is here. She's a member of the community who works with volunteers. So if you have a question about Volunteerism America, about the program, or anything like that, please feel free to put them in the comment box. And just one more question for those who are joining us today. Have you ever volunteered with your family before? And where were you volunteering at? And what was your experience like volunteering as a family? So Kirsten, is there anything else you would like to share with those who might be joining or watching later about your organization or about volunteering or just general thoughts?
Yeah, two things. So one, of course, volunteering as a family is impactful for the family that is volunteering, but also it's really impactful for the families that we serve, the families that the families are serving when they volunteer. For one, the kids that live with us love seeing other kids, so it's really fun for them to get to play with new friends. And the moms are so inspired by seeing that community members care about them, by seeing, healthy, happy families, and by seeing the value of teaching your kids to give back to the community from a really young age. And also, I mean, in relation to like donation drives, those are needs that wouldn't be met without community support. So that's a huge impact that they're having on other people's lives. And then the other thing I just wanted to throw out is VOA has some volunteer opportunities for families, but some other ways to find volunteer opportunities for families. The United Way has a great volunteer portal that has a filter for like family-friendly volunteer opportunities. So that's one way to look, and I'm sure you can type it in Google and find more options in your specific neighborhood or area.
Yeah, and I know I just found a resource the other day, and now I can't remember the name of it. JC's going to write it down for me, I think. That was similar, that you could search for volunteer opportunities, but you could also track your volunteer hours. And then there was like this reward system that got set up. Reward volunteers. So feel free to check that out too.
Cool.
But we will definitely be sharing your website on our Facebook page and in the comments when we post this video. And I'm just so thankful that you came in to chat with us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Over the lunch hour, and to talk with folks who may be watching right now, but also will be watching later. So thank you for sharing all that great information.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Yeah. So McCoy has provided a great post for the Indie with Kids blog and on our own website about volunteering and ways to help young people become more interested in volunteering. So feel free to check that out. But let's talk about one more fact before we sign off today. 73% of young people think their efforts can have a positive impact on their community. If that's not something to support, I don't know what is. So thank you again to Kirsten from Volunteers of America for coming in today to share that really great information and your experiences. And thank you all for joining us live. We encourage you to keep engaging with us by commenting, liking, sharing the video. And we will be live again at noon on February 1st with a conversation about teen dating violence prevention. So we'll see you then.